Well, there's been a new twist to the drama between the police and the House of Representatives after the crisis that occurred at the National Assembly. Appearing before the House committee set up to investigate the incident, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Suleiman, refused to recognize Mr. Aminu Tambuwal as the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Mr. Abba insisted that since the status of the Speaker is awaiting judicial interpretation in the law courts, he would not recognize Mr. Tambuwal as Speaker of the House.
Thursday, November 20, 2014 will go down as a day these lawmakers will not forget easily. It was a day when some lawmakers were locked out of the National Assembly. The Inspector General of Police was invited to the House Committee on Police Affairs to explain the reason for the lockout of the lawmakers.
The operational procedures of the security of the National Assembly was complied with. That was why the issue of ensuring that members identified themselves was taken into consideration and arrangements were made so that members will identify themselves and be screened as provided in the procedures. That was disrupted on the arrival of Alhaji Aminu Tambuwal. At the gate, we saw how the security arrangement at that gate was compromised, and we saw how people we suspect to be thugs crossed the fence, and that resulted, like I said, in the unfortunate incident where the tear gas exploded.
His opening statement appeared to have added salt to an injury. He refused to recognize Alhaji Aminu Tambuwal as the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
I expect you to acknowledge Alhaji Aminu Waziri Tambuwal as the Speaker of this House, pending the interpretation of a judiciary which is settled by the Constitution of this country, for or otherwise. I will not sit down and allow an appointee of another arm of government to disrespect the status and the office of the Mr. Speaker of the National Assembly. It's either the IGP is retracting that statement now, or I, as an individual, will have to take my leave, because that means this sitting is illegal.
You know too well, matters before the court are not commented upon. I believe it will be sub judice for me to comment on a matter that is before the court. Thank you.
While the police chief stuck to his guns, the lawmakers refused to continue the session and adjourned the meeting. Paul Nwachukwu reporting for Channels Television News.
Well, the president has appealed to state governors who have the Green Wall project cut across their states to take it seriously. President Goodluck Jonathan was speaking in Bachaka community in Kebbi State while flagging off the project initiated by the African Union to deal with the problems of desertification in the African continent. Before the flag-off of the Green Wall project, the president commissioned the new Sir Ahmadu Bello International Airport in Birnin Kebbi. The Federal High Court Abuja has reserved judgment in a suit filed by an aspirant to the House of Representatives from Adamawa State, Aliyu Abba Gurin, seeking to unseat the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Adamu Muazu, and also cancel planned delegates' convention of the party. At a resumed hearing of the suit, counsel to the plaintiff argued that the resignation of the immediate past chairman of the party, Alhaji Bamanga Tukur, did not comply with the provision of the party constitution, and as such the court should set aside his appointment. Opposing the application, counsel to the PDP and Mr. Muazu asked the court to dismiss the suit on the ground that the plaintiff lacks the right to institute such a suit. Now, Governor Bala Ngilari of Adamawa State has been cleared by the People's Democratic Party to contest for the party governorship primaries alongside other aspirants ahead of next year's general elections. The governor's lawyer, Mr. Festus Kiyamo, had threatened to sue the ruling party if he was barred from contesting the primaries. Addressing supporters at the commissioning of his campaign office in Yola, the governor said he has started work on rehabilitation and resettlement of the victims of insurgency in the state.
I give God the glory for making it possible for me to be cleared. I dedicate this clearance certificate to all those who have lost their lives in this carnage of unnecessary violence and insurgency. I dedicate this certificate of clearance to all our brothers and sisters, our sons and daughters, our parents who have become displaced persons in the various IDP camps, and that my fervent prayer that sooner than later God will consolidate on the peace efforts we've been championing, and sooner than expected they will return back to their respective homes.
South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal has postponed indefinitely the appeal brought by convicted MEND leader Henry Okah, pending an amendment of his legal team's argument on the matter brought before the court. In accordance with the leave granted him to appeal by Judge Niels Carlson of the High Court in Johannesburg, Mr. Okah came questioning the jurisdiction of the courts to try him on the 13-count charge brought against him. Our correspondent in South Africa, Pt.2, who was in court today, now reports.
Appellant Mr. Henry Okah's legal team came questioning the jurisdiction of the court to hear and adjudicate counts 1 to 12, as well as questioning the conviction on count 13, in accordance with the leave granted by the South Gauteng High Court. But with the leading of the panel of judges here at the appellate court, they got room to seek a little more than he came to seek. Henry Okah wasn't in court, but his legal team was. So was his wife, Azuka Okah, as well as some Nigerian officials. The arguments never got underway as the judges of appeal, led by Justice Mohammed Nafsa, made an observation on the presentation of the matter by the appellant's team. He noted that from court records of Mr. Okah's previous lawyer, Lokima Natlala, a great deal of detail was provided regarding the difference between just wars or armed struggle and terrorism, as well as arguments over extraterritorial jurisdiction, but no constitutional challenge was properly presented regarding the statute being dealt with.
We've got a statute that's in place that Justice Carlson was bound by. And what I'm putting to you is it your intention to continue to argue in the face of what I put to you, constitutional points that weren't raised in the manner in which they ought to be raised? Or would you want an opportunity to launch such a challenge and have this appeal pending?
Well, it's quite clear that those requirements wasn't met. If one accepts that in respect of the first 12 counts, all that one is dealing with an appeal is the question of the jurisdiction of the court. Now, doesn't that raise all kinds of difficulties for the appellant, absent a proper constitutional challenge?
We can't adopt a position in respect of it because it's not before us.
Well, I agree with you, Lordship, that the constitutional point, even if it's a good point,
yes,
has not been properly raised.
In less than 15 minutes, the judges laid two options before the appellant's legal team: go ahead as is and face a mound of legal hurdles, or request a postponement in order to properly present a constitutional challenge.
You have one of two options. The one is to abandon the constitutional point because you've conceded it hasn't been properly raised, and the other is to ask for an adjournment in order to raise it properly. I'm just putting that to you as the two options that I see open to you in the light of your concession.
The wise decision was obviously to ask for a postponement sine die,
We will supplement our arguments and we will include the Minister of Justice, because it is quite apparent at this point that there is a constitutional issue that must be addressed.
The matter has been postponed sine die or indefinitely pending the time the legal team of the appellant will file supplementary heads of argument on the matter. From the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein, the Free State, South Africa, Betsy Dibia, Channels Television News.
When the news at 10 returns, reactions to the Monetary Policy Committee decision on benchmark interest rates. And that will be on Business News. Join us again, please.